Picture a time, not so long ago, when the very idea of a single character being popular enough, compelling enough to carry an entire comic book series on their own shoulders was, well, simply unheard of. Comics, as they existed then, were an assemblage, a vibrant kaleidoscope of short tales, each vying for attention within the pages of anthologies. These were bustling, shared spaces, brimming with a variety of heroes and adventurers, a sort of literary variety show. But then, in the spring of 1939, a red-caped figure burst forth, not just onto the scene, but into his own spotlight, forever changing the landscape of sequential art and the very business model of an emerging industry. For a moment, let's travel back to that nascent era of comic books. The late 1930s were a fascinating time, a crucible of creativity and public appetite for escapism. Magazines filled with thrilling pulp fiction were popular, and slowly the format we know as the comic book was beginning to coalesce. Within this evolving medium, publishers would typically compile a diverse array of stories. One such title was Action Comics, which debuted in 1938. And it was in the very first issue of Action Comics, issue number 1, that the world was first introduced to Superman. He was an instant sensation, this powerful alien from Krypton fighting for truth and justice in a world that desperately needed a hero. His incredible strength, his ability to fly, his unwavering moral compass, these qualities resonated deeply with readers. He wasn't just another character, he was something entirely new, something monumental. His popularity grew exponentially, issue after issue, within the shared pages of Action Comics. But despite his undeniable appeal, the prevailing wisdom was that no single character, no matter how beloved, could sustain an entire publication by themselves. Comics were a collective effort, a smorgasbord of tales, or so it was believed. Then came the bold decision, a gamble perhaps, but one rooted in a deep understanding of this hero's unique connection with his audience. In the summer of 1939, just a year after his debut, Detective Comics Inc., which would later become DC Comics, decided to take an unprecedented step. They would give Superman his very own self-titled comic book. This wasn't just a new issue, it was a revolution in the making. This landmark publication was simply titled Superman number 1. Its cover proudly featured the Man of Steel soaring through the sky, a dramatic and confident pose that seemed to declare his singular importance. But beyond the striking cover, the content within was equally significant. Superman number 1 didn't feature new, never-before-seen adventures. Instead, it reprinted the original Superman stories from Action Comics 1 through 4, including the now iconic origin story of Kal-El, rocketed from a doomed planet, discovered by the Kent family, and raised to become humanity's greatest champion. This was a deliberate choice, intended to provide a definitive introduction to new readers, solidifying his history and identity. The success of Superman number 1 was immediate and undeniable. It flew off the newsstands. Readers clamored for it. It proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that a single character could carry their own book, and not just carry it, but propel it to unprecedented heights of popularity. This was the moment Superman truly became the undisputed king of the burgeoning superhero genre. He was no longer just a hero in an anthology. He was the hero, popular enough, compelling enough to command his own dedicated spotlight. The implications of this success reverberated throughout the nascent comic book industry. Other publishers and creators watched, learned, and adapted. Suddenly, the solo title became the aspiration, the gold standard. Soon after, Batman, another immensely popular character, received his own self-titled comic. Captain America, Wonder Woman, The Flash, one by one, the pantheon of iconic heroes were given their own dedicated platforms. This was the birth of the character-centric model that continues to define the comic book industry to this very day. Think of the sprawling universes we explore now, each hero with their own long-running series, their own creative teams, their own distinct storylines. All of it, arguably, traces back to that audacious decision to launch Superman #1. It wasn't just about sales, it was about defining a genre. It allowed for deeper character exploration, more complex narrative arcs, and a richer connection between the hero and his audience. The limited pages of an anthology couldn't contain the full scope of Superman's adventures or the depth of his mythology. His own title provided that canvas. So, when we reflect on the history of comic books, Superman #1 stands as a monumental turning point. It wasn't just the debut of a new title, it was the genesis of a new way of thinking about comic book publishing. It solidified Superman's status as a cultural icon, and in doing so, laid the foundational blueprint for how superheroes would be presented and consumed for generations to come. It was the moment the solo hero truly came into their own, forging a path that countless caped crusaders and masked marvels would follow. It reminds us that sometimes the most revolutionary ideas are simply the ones brave enough to challenge the existing norms. The success of Superman #1 wasn't just a win for a single character, it was a win for the entire medium, paving the way for the rich, character-driven narratives we cherish today. What are your thoughts on this pivotal moment in comic book history? Did you realize the profound impact Superman #1 had on the industry? Share your reflections in the comments below, and let's continue this conversation about the heroes who shaped our world, one issue at a time.